Hi, I'm Kelly from Rowan Healing Arts, and my meditation series, Cultivating a Healing Lifestyle, is pretty much wrapped up, and I'm starting now on astrology. So, the first thing you need to do is get your birth certificate. Now, you may have something that says notification of birth registration, or you may have a cute little thing from your hospital that says birth certificate or certifies that you were born. And although I was able to use these to join the National Guard, they do not have the time on them. The National Guard doesn't care what time you were born, just that there's a body in front of them. So they use these, but for our purpose, you need a certified copy of your birth certificate. And that will say a certificate of live birth. If you don't have one, you have to go to the Department of Vital Records for the state where you were born. There's usually two options. You can do it online. There's usually a less expensive option, which is going to be something more like this. A more expensive option, that's the one you want. And I think they're running about $45 now. So what it is you pay the $45 for someone to go find your birth certificate and then make a nice copy on this paper. It's a special kind of paper. This one says State of California. Usually has a little kind of seal that you can feel they've embossed on it. That's the certified copy. It will have your birth time on it. Twice now within the last couple months, I've run into this, people saying, no, I have my birth certificate and it doesn't have the birth time on it. It's because you don't have a certified copy. Go and get your certified copy so you have the time, date, and place of birth. Why is time important? Time is very important because that sets the ascendant, and the ascendant starts the houses. So without knowing that, you can't really set the houses correctly. You can kind of use noon, but it's not going to be exact, and you really want an exact chart. So once you've got that done, you can go to a lot of different places online to get a natal chart printed out. I like astro.com. They do this great, pretty chart. You'll want to set up an account. The only reason is, and there's no charge to it, but the only reason is you have more options if you do an account. You can go in and you can put in things like I want what I want to show on my chart. I want Black Moon Lilith. I want both nodes, both of the moon's nodes on there. You want Chiron on there. And then you go back after you've chosen those things and you print out your chart. So once this is printed out and you're looking at it and thinking, what is it? Well, what it is at the moment you drew your breath, your first breath that started this life, as the signs are moving and the planets are moving and everything is moving along, when you take your first breath into this life, it's like a snapshot of where all the planets were. Now, when you look at your natal chart, you'll notice that there's signs around the outside. That is actually where the constellations were when you were born. I may have to beat George. Lay down. So, this is the second time I've tried to get this done, and he starts barking right about the same time. So anyway, if you were actually at birth, you were right here in the middle. So in all actuality, you're here in the middle and there's kind of a globe around you, but it's really hard to read that way. So they've smashed it down like that onto a page to show where everything was around you. Okay? So you're right here in the middle and all this is happening around you. When you take that first breath that starts this life, it takes a snapshot of the energies that you need for this life, that you're going to be working with in this life. Now each, and here is the ascendant, and when you're looking at it, facing it, that is east. The sun comes up. So that is your rising sign right there. And then on the right, it's the west, the sun goes down. So that fixes your first house. That's where it starts. Good to know, because each house is a different area of your life. Even if there's no planet in it, you still have that area of your life. It's not like, see, I have no planet in the first one, which is a personal house. Doesn't mean that I'm non-existent. It just means that there's no planet in there. But when I printed this out yesterday, the moon was coming right in there. Not my natal moon, but the moon moving around right now. And we'll get to that. So you've got your houses and everything set up, and you see your planets in here. Go back to astro.com, go into the more options, and you'll see where you can put a date. You put in today's date, and then you go back to your chart, and you say, with transits. And you will see around the outside are some small little planets now. Those are the planets where they are on the date you put in. So if you put in today's date, what you will see here is where the planets are moving right now. The ones that are around us right now, moving. And you can see in relationship to your snapshot how they're going to be affecting you. So if you're listening to an astrologer and they're talking about a transiting planet, they're talking about the planets on the outside here. So if they say, and they're going through all 12 signs and they're saying, well, Mars is going to be in this sign, and if it's in your first house, this is what it means. If it's in the second house, this is what it means. That means where this transiting Mars is. So for me, the transiting Mars, my natal Mars is up here. But right when I printed this out, transiting Mars was in my third house. And that's the one they're talking about. And the reason I want to make this really clear is I was listening to a question and answer session that an astrologer was running. And someone asked that question, and you kind of forget that if you haven't been doing this for years and years, it can become very confusing. So when you look at this, and having your natal chart in front of you when you're listening to something like an astrologer and they're talking about what the planets are doing and the types of energy they're bringing in, it's good to have the chart, your chart, in front of you so you can look at it and reference. If they're talking about where Neptune is right now, you can see what house it's going to be affecting for you, if it's going to be affecting any planets, and the axis that it's working on, and we'll get into that later. But right now, get to know your natal chart, and I wanted to make sure you knew the difference from the natal chart, which is the snapshot of the very beginning of this life, and the transiting planets, which are where the planets are right now. So now that we've got that done, a little bit about the way I read. It's a combination of styles. It's evolutionary astrology along with shamanic astrology. And I like to also use the fixed stars and some seasonal markers, like winter solstice, summer solstice, spring and fall equinox. Why? Because they're power times of the year, and on every chart you are going to have them because they are certain times of the year. So that's the way I read them. I am changing Shamanic astrology uses an archetype, so I like to use symbols for that. And I think the symbols of astrology that are mostly animal don't relate as well anymore as if we evolved the symbols. I think it still connects you to nature, and definitely looking at the times of the year in your chart definitely connects you into the seasons and nature. But I like to use things from mythology to explain the signs. So we'll get into that later. Just a real quick example would be Aries is a ram. And I look at Aries as more of a warrior type of archetype. And that doesn't matter if you're male or female. It's the same type of energy, and an archetype is an energetic pattern that I just think the warrior fits better than a ram. It's just my deal. So anyway, now that you know how to get this, go print it out. So when you're listening to any astrologer, you have it in front of you and you can really see what they're talking about. If you have any questions, get a hold of me. Rowan Healing Arts is my website. You can contact me through the website. And I don't have my readings on there yet. I do readings, but I don't have them listed yet. If you're interested, you can contact me through the website. And I will be back next week to go into further explanation of the natal chart. So for now, have a great, it's Sunday today, so have a great Sunday, and I will see you next week. Have a good day.